I've been using my Makerbot Replicator 2X for almost 3 years now, but I never had a chance to install the exhaust system on top of the cover that it has. Basically, the idea is to get the fumes. I only print in ABS, not PLA. I don't think Replicator 2X supports PLA, and I never tried it. I basically only printed for the past 3 years, only ABS. So the idea is to install an exhaust system, and I printed this particular, I actually designed this cone that takes in a 120 millimeter computer fan that I'm basically recycling. This has been modified. If you notice, this has been cut out, but basically any 120 millimeter fan would work, and you attach it. You see the holes on the corners. You attach it to the bottom of this exhaust pipe, if you will, and use like a typical 1.5-inch hose that you can buy at Home Depot. I think it's about almost $5 per foot. So I got about 7 feet because my Makerbot is basically next to the window. It took about 4 hours and 49 minutes, almost 5 hours to print this. And so what you would do is you would plug it in like this and then tighten the bracket here, and then just run it out the window. Now let me show you where and how I'm gonna do this. Basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take one of these. It's a Milwaukee. I picked it up also at Home Depot. This is a Milwaukee hole dozer, and this particular one is 4.5 inches big, basically making it it's 114 millimeters. Now this particular part, the diameter of this particular circle is 115 millimeters, so I would have to kind of like maybe shave off like 1 millimeter, and that's basically this particular diameter. That's about 115 millimeters. All right, now you would need bolts like this. You can pick it up at Home Depot as well. It's the electrician machine screw kit. So first thing, I'm going to make an outline of the base of the cone. Okay, and the thing is, I have a feeling that the fan would have to be installed on top of the cover, this clear cover, not below, because this particular the electrical hoses, the electrical and the filament access would be basically bumping into it if I were to install the fan from underneath of the cover, not above it. Now the next step is to make the holes evident, right? So I'm gonna attempt to make the holes more visible. Now you drill the holes very gently. Don't push too hard. And when you're drilling, make sure the drill bit doesn't touch the hose, the electrical supply hose. Otherwise you'll destroy that, and don't blame me for it. Basically, when you have all the 4 holes drilled through, you just need to make diagonal lines, and that will determine the center. So you just run the line through the center of each one of the holes that you created. By the way, what I didn't tell you is that you don't just pick up this hole dozer. You would have to have one of these kits that come with the drill bits for each one of the situations, or basically diameters that you need to drill. And I think it was like $80 for this kit, but all you need is just one of these, and you can also buy it at Home Depot, and you can buy this bit separately and this dozer, the whole dozer, separately as well, and then you just screw it in like so, and what you end up with is a drill bit basically. First thing I would suggest you do is pre-drill a small hole down the center, so this way you know exactly where the hole is going to be. But you got to be gentle, don't push too hard. Once that hole is set, you attach this, and then very gently start drilling the hole. You got to hold on to the cover, and I would switch to a lower position so the speed of the drill is much slower, and then gently start moving in. And that's basically it. You end up with a nice sharp hole. That's basically it. Before we're going to be attaching the cone, we need to figure out which way the fan is blowing and which way it's exhausting the air. To do that, the very next step is to cut these three wires, the yellow, black, and the red. I think they're standard on all fans in terms of coloration, the color scheme. And we're going to be, I'm not sure, I think it's black and red. I'm not sure what the yellow one is, but first I'm going to attempt to connect the black and red to unused power adapter from, I don't know what gadget it is, it doesn't say, but basically it provides 9 volts. So it provides 9 volts, if you can see here, if the camera can focus. There you go. So now we're going to be determining which cable goes what. Alright, so it's the black and the red. Never use the yellow. Do you see this? So this side is blowing and this side is sucking or exhausting. So basically this side would have to be looking up, like so. So where you see the lines, I mean in my particular situation it's this side, but you would have to determine on your fan of choice. I'm using the Nexus G12SL-12. That's the one that basically I've been using since, I don't know, 2008 or something like that. It was installed on one of my desktop computers that I built back in the days. Now that we have connected all the wiring, it's ready to be installed atop of the hood, the clear cover or the hood, and just like so. Basically I'm going to be having the head of the screw, the head part, from the bottom up. So it's going to be as flat here as possible so that nothing interferes with the hosing of the Makerbot. So now that you have secured the screws, the bolts, you want to make sure you tighten them up as tight as possible, but not too tight so that it cracks the holes on the inside of the hood. Now, I have an issue with my particular situation. Since my fan has been modified, it's been, you know, cut in these two spots on both sides of the fan. There's going to be loss of suction. So in my particular situation, I'll have to cover it with something. Well, I'll figure it out. I'll maybe glue something on top of it, maybe like, you know, some failed attempts to print, 3D print. I have pieces of plastic that I can literally glue covering this particular situation. But in your situation, if you haven't altered your fan, the 120 millimeter fan, then it will be covered and you're in good shape. You don't have to do anything else. Now, I was thinking, since this part has been printed standing upwards, and that's the most efficient way without supports or raft, there is a possibility that it can crack off because each layer is going this way, not this way. So I actually was thinking of placing the model sideways on the build plate and then printing the lines this way so it's more sturdy. It could never snap off. But it would take like almost twice as much time to print, as well as the inside of the hollow part would have to be filled with a lot of supports, and it's really, really painful to remove later on. So my idea is to basically sand it down a little bit so it's very smooth, at least at this point where the contact with the hose is, and then lacquer it or use some kind of a very strong paint that will kind of reinforce it and like harden it so there's no possibility for the cracking to occur.